All right, can everybody hear me okay? I think we're ready to roll. I officially have 7 o'clock, so please. All right, everybody ready to roll? So I want to welcome everybody. My name's Mike Duchek. I'm the 2022 club president. I'll introduce the rest of the board here in just a second. I want to make sure everybody gets a ticket. Lots of attendance prizes tonight. And please get some food. There's also some cards up there. Those cards have a QR code and the website. Very easy to get to it for either you or anybody you know. So please feel free to take a stack of those. And if you know some people who might be interested in at least going out and looking at our website or might be interested in our club, please hand those cards out to them. If we can go ahead and advance. Let's go to the next one. I think the board, let's see. What we'll do today, we have some club updates, all from the coordinators or from myself. If there's any new members here tonight, we'd like for you to introduce yourselves. Also, we have our feature presentation tonight from Jennifer Meyer from TriSmart. Also, we have lots of attendance prizes for those of you who are here today. There's some other items that we'll get to as we go. Next slide, please. So let me introduce the board. Some are here, some are not. Chris All is our past president. Trevin Michael, our president-elect. Dave DeJean is our treasurer. Devlin Murray, secretary, is right here. And we have Susie Easton, Bob Erickson, and J.P. Palmer as our other board members. So, next slide, we've got our membership chairman will not be here tonight, but I wanted to ask, are there any new members here tonight? And what we really like is you would take just a second to stand and introduce yourself. Tell us anything you want to tell us within reason. So that means please come up for just a second.
What that means is nothing that you don't want.
But if you come up for just a second, real quick. And I think we'll be able to hear through this, so that's close enough, but please introduce yourself.
I'm James Nguyen. Okay, is this better? Okay, good. I'm James Nguyen. I am from Yangon, Myanmar, by way of Chicago, and I live in Springfield, Illinois. So I wanted to join the St. Louis Triathlon Club because Lake Springfield isn't open for open water swimming. It's the site of the Stoneman Sprint Triathlon for some of you who've done it. Basically, I'm here to, I'm a beginner, just looking to learn more about triathlon and do some open water swimming.
You've come to the right place. And
Awesome.
We're glad to tell you all you want to know, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm Brad Lauritsen. Just moved to St. Louis a year ago, last week. I already enjoyed biking and swimming to an extent and running, so started doing all three of those, and my wife is a collegiate swimmer, so she kind of got me more into swimming. And so I decided to sign up for my first triathlon, signed up for the St. Louis Triathlon in May, and then I decided to search out the club and joined. So I've attended a few meetings online, won some prizes last month, and so this is my first in-person meeting.
Thanks, and welcome to you. And hopefully, you'll get some more prizes tonight. Is there anybody else who's a new member? All right. So, clothing. Tonight, oh, by the way, for the new members, If you have not received your shirt, water bottle yet, Marion Holtz is our membership chairman, and she will have that at the Whispering Hills on Sunday mornings, or you can make other arrangements. But we'll get you the shirts and water bottles, and I think there's a tattoo in the water bottle too, but don't fill it with water before you put the tattoo on. All right. Swag. Anybody who participated in Icy Iron last year and did not pick up their stuff, there's swag over there. That's all 2021 Icy Iron, not 2022. There's also volunteer swag from 2021, and there is Club Challenge. Hats, there's the black hats. Adam's got one on right there. Those are from the Club Challenge last year. For clothing, we have some clothing for sale back there. If anybody needs anything, we've got some limited sizes, but we have some new kits that are coming. We hope to have ordering within some weeks. This is going to be one of those years. It's going to be later in the year. It's not ideal, but they are going to be absolutely cool looking. There's a rough rendering back there. Please take a look and see what they'll look like, and please plan on ordering some. They'll have all of our, most recent sponsors, and they really will look sharp. And I mean, you're all good looking, but believe me, in those, you look even better. And you'll be promoting the club. Erwin, is there anything on the website that we need to know about? And I'll come back to you. I think we're going to start getting some mentoring going. So we'll have some group rides. We'll have some group activities starting up here as we're starting to warm up. And anything from the website at all?
I don't think so. Bill's keeping the calendar updated.
So if you haven't seen the website recently, there's been some updates. I think they look fantastic. So please check it out. And again, we have some cards with a QR code that'll go right to the website. So next slide here, we've got volunteering. Very important for the club. Give back to our sponsors, give back to the community, have a lot of fun. So most recently, we had a group of, 8 of us total? Because there's one not in the picture, and I'm in there twice. It's not my fault. But I did pull double duty, so it was kind of a... Anyway, about 8 of us were the Go St. Louis Marathon Weekend bike crew. We did everything from bike leads for the 10K, half marathon, and marathon, and then we also did trail support for the marathon. So as we get into the last half of that marathon, as things start to stretch out, we had our crews out there so that if there were any issues, we had a contact number to call in. It was a long day, it was a great day, and a lot of fun. Our next volunteer opportunity is going to be Chain of Rocks Bridge Duathlon. That's May 1st. So please plan to go support. There's a sign-up sheet. You find it online. And there's a sign-up genius, so you can see exactly what you can sign up for to help with that race. This picture's from some years ago when my boys were a little younger and a little shorter too. And we had a lot of fun volunteering at this event, so please plan to help out with that. You can see there's some other volunteer opportunities coming up. One of them, the St. Louis Tri-Expo. I've got to get more information on that, but what we're trying to do is get a good opportunity to reach out to potential members, and this is a good opportunity for us to do just that. So we wanted to make it part of our volunteer challenge. I should mention the Wilkerson Volunteer Challenge. Vito Wagner is our new volunteer coordinator, And as you accrue points from volunteering at these races, these are all races. Sometimes we do have some other volunteer opportunities, but as you accrue points for this, at the end of the year, you will be justly rewarded. Last year, among other things, we had seat covers, and those are really great seat covers. So please help out, have fun, and we appreciate all your support. On the next slide, we're going to talk about the Club Challenge. So this is our opportunity to wear our proud red, black, white, and gray. And the races that we have here are in what we call the Colby-Co Club Challenge. Colby-Co is one of our sponsors. These races here will all get you, it's like 1 point or 2, depending on how exactly the points will work, but these ones that are bold here will be double points. And that's because these are very special races, or very special race weekend for us. Our main sponsor, Big Shark, puts on a heck of a race at Newtown. And that weekend, we'll need volunteers for both the kids race, which is on the Saturday, and then the adult race on Sunday. So we also have these that was in the volunteer, we also have them in the Club Challenge here. So please plan on doing those races. And we do have a conflict this year, which it just happens. We have Rookies and Rockstars on the same day as Chain of Rocks Bridge. So I have to say, please, if you're going to do one or the other, please look at Chain of Rocks Bridge. Help us out there. And Rookies and Rockstars is another possibility in St. Peter's. That's a week from Sunday. All right, next slide. Oh, I should mention, Gina Gable is our Club Challenge coordinator. So and I apologize. I glossed right over you. I even printed off that, and I was going to say, hey, Gina, what would you like? So, Gina, is there anything you think you just said?
You did a great job. You explained it well. Thank you.
You said the magic word. So, swag for last year, I pointed out that young man with the black hat there. That was one of our swag items for the Colby-Co Challenge last year. So, Icy Iron. We had the Icy Iron 2022 just finish up March the 27th, and we are working on swag for that, and you're going to like it, okay? Swag from last year, I said, is over there. For anybody not familiar with the Icy Iron, it's our off-season challenge, we'll call it, and a good opportunity to challenge ourselves to swim, bike, and run in those cold months. And you can see here that we accumulated quite a few miles. All right, our next, our updates are on the website, so please always take a look there. We also have updates on Facebook, on our Facebook page. And again, please take some cards. The QR code will take you right to it. All right. Was there anything that anybody wanted to ask about as far as upcoming races or any upcoming events? Gina?
Is the Newtown race, did the board decide on what kind of discounts we're going to
Yes. In fact, it's out there. That is a very good point. So you could sign up for Newtown anytime, and it is 50% off. And that's a lot of percent off. And it's a lot of percent off for both the kids' race and the adult races on Sunday. What that means is if you have kids who are under the age of 16, which 16 is the cutoff, then they can participate in the kids' race on Saturday for half price. The discount code is out on the website. If anybody has any problems getting to it, let me know. We'll make sure that you get that, and it's going to be a great weekend. It's just a very well organized event. Is there any other questions or comments or anything about any upcoming events?
Open water swim starts on May 7th.
May 7th, so that's going to be at Newtown. And let's see, is there sign up for that already? I think they do take some pre. In years past, they've taken some reservations. You can actually pay ahead of time, so I'm sure they'll do that again. If you haven't been out to Newtown for the open water swims, not only are they a lot of fun and a great time to get into the water that you may even be swimming in the upcoming triathlons there, but also there's always riders that go out afterwards, so you can make it a nice swim bike brick, and I think we'll have groups probably. We'll have groups out there. We'll have groups out on the bike, and there will be plenty of opportunities no matter what your speed. There's a lot of fun after the race, after the open water swims. Anything else? Jennifer, I think we're ready to turn it over to you. So I wanted to introduce Coach Jennifer Meyer from TriSmart Training Systems,
Training systems, you got it.
Yes.
All right, this is my first time using one of these doohickeys. Does it look like it's working? Should they hear me mic'd also, or is it just for the recording? You can hear it too? So I'll have to be careful not to talk too loudly, because I'm kind of loud sometimes. So, all right, well, I am so excited about my topic for tonight, race pacing. And what is that, and what kinds of things you need to consider, and how to be successful in your race pacing. So we'll just get right into it. These are kind of the main points I'm going to talk about, and we'll go through each one and kind of summarize at the end also. So we're going to talk about why is race pacing important? How do we pace so that we can race faster? Most of us are interested in that. I have a good example for the half marathon. Go, St. Louis, it just happened. It's actually what gave me the idea for this presentation. So I've been a member of the Tri Club and a coach sponsor for a lot of years, and I've talked on a lot of different topics. So I was kind of racking my brain, what would be a good topic for this year? And so I was so glad to encounter the example, which I will share soon, because it told me this is what I need to talk about. All right, pacing and training levels and how they're kind of linked together. Am I standing in a way that you can see? Should I? Okay. Training to pace well, right? Because our ability to pace races well is influenced by our training for sure. So we want to talk about that. And what are some different options for how to pace races? What works and what can get you into trouble? So a bunch of different things, but we'll try and stay organized and regroup at the end. And please feel comfortable to ask questions at any time. That would be great. And I hope kind of at the end to maybe see what you guys remember. All right, so we're going to just go quickly through my qualifications. I'm here talking to you like some of you know me, some of you don't. So what qualifies me to talk to you about race pacing? I've been a member of the Tri Club since 2003. I was the first coach sponsor. That's since 2006. And I've been doing a lot of clinics and presentations since then. I'm a level 2 certified USA triathlon coach, and for that we have to recertify every 2 years. I've also spent a lot of time being coached by Nicholas Romanoff. I consider him probably my foremost mentor in athletics. And he's down in Miami, and he teaches something called the POSE method of swimming, biking, and running. I've had my full-time coaching business since 2005. Can't believe it's been that long. Time flies. I coach beginners and all different levels and all different distances. I've done all those different things. I also coach cross-country and swimming for high school. I'm at Westminster for Christian Academy for cross-country and track, and Parkway North for girls swimming in the wintertime. I've been a USAT All-American annually since 2005. It's something that I work hard on. In 2020, I had to get 3 sanctioned races. If you guys don't know anything about ranking for USA Triathlon, you have to do 3 sanctioned USA Triathlon races to be included as ranking. So that was kind of hard in 2020. Did anybody else do 3 races in 2020? No, there's not very many of us, and I had to travel a ways to do it, but I enjoyed that. My proud achievement was my gold medal at the World Championships in 2021, and I'm still competing. This is my 20th year, so I'm still trying to practice what I teach and try some of these things. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. On to the next. Into the meat of our talk here. Okay, why is race pacing important? All right. Well, I think we have to start off with what is our goal in racing? Okay, so why do we do this? All right, one hand, we do racing, we train to be healthy, of course, okay, but you can do a lot of training and not racing. So why do we take that next step to go to the races? Well, I would argue that we want to have fun. Okay, none of us here are professional athletes. We're amateurs, okay? So we get into this to have fun. But what does having fun mean? It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But this is something I really talk about with my athletes, because defining success for you may be very different from one person to another, right? So defining your success is important and definitely would impact how you would pace your race. So I would argue that all of us want to go as fast as possible for ourselves right now when we do a race. Okay? So I don't think any one of us wants to go out there and go slow. Okay, now the definition of fast and slow is different, right? You know, you and I one of us might be a faster swimmer, faster biker, faster runner. You know, we have different standards we're trying to meet. But I'm going to argue that everybody wants to go as fast as possible for themselves the day of that race. And I also would argue that we want to improve and learn something. Okay, so improve might be going faster. Okay, improve also might be pacing our race better so we don't feel like garbage in the middle of the race. Okay, so do I have one more point about that? Yeah, don't feeling horrible during a race. Okay, I'm going to give you an example which maybe you can relate to and an experience. So my son and another kid on the cross-country team at Westminster, we went to a race, and they both ran really great times. They were both very happy with their time. Unfortunately, so a high school cross-country race is a 5K, which we all do too. Unfortunately, they came through the first mile way too fast. Like, I don't know, something ridiculous, like 5:10. And these guys don't run 5:45, 16-minute cross-country races. So I was coaching with my husband at the time, and we were both like, oh no, this could be ugly, okay? So they finished, they both had great times. They both were felt like death at the end, because they had gone so fast in the beginning, and then they had persevered and finished. But they literally, I actually thought my son was going to faint. He was just white, and he was just laying there, right? So, but the great thing was 1 week later, they have another race, cross country, VO, and everything. So we're like, okay, let's just try to run the exact same time differently. Let's do the first mile a little bit differently. But we kind of said to them, listen, you have to do it this way. Like, you cannot come through the first mile any faster because guess what? You're always excited at the beginning, right? It always feels easy. And there's this really bad thought in everybody's head that you can bank the time. You know, if I go a little faster now while I'm feeling good, then I'll have a little extra time later. No, bad idea, okay? So anyway, they did this race. They went through the first mile exactly like we said, which was goodly slower than they had done it. They finished in almost the exact time, and they felt great. They were like, oh my gosh. It was such a great example for them because it happened bing, bang, boom like that. And then they could get better, whereas the week before, they never thought they could ever run faster in their whole lives, right? So pacing really means, and feeling horrible, who wants that? Like, you want to enjoy the process, okay? So pacing, all of us, and this is also something that you never stop practicing and learning. So for those of us that have been, I just told you I've been racing for 20 years, one would think I might be getting bored. No, because I can still improve in how I spread my effort out over that race and pace things. Always, always improving. All right, on to the next. So how to pace so that you can have fun and race faster? Well, we talked a little bit about so you feel better. One of the ways to do that is to make sure that you're training effectively, okay? You need to expend your effort wisely throughout the race. We just talked about how you would pace it and how you would spread it out. I mean, and these points I have a table on the next slide that'll explain it more too. Now, I do want to point out that good nutrition, we're doing endurance events, okay? So good nutrition and having the right gear, and what I mean by that is clothing that fits, a bike that fits, you know, this kind of thing, okay? So there's a lot of other things that have to be in place to have a successful race besides just pacing, okay? But we're not going to be talking about nutrition and gear right now, all right? But yes, is that important to making sure you pace right? Yes, okay, that's true. It's not only how you expend your effort, okay? But we're going to really be focusing on that, how you expend your effort wisely throughout the event and the training aspect of that as well. All right. Okay, so let's look at this table. So what this table is, it's over on the left-hand side. I have training zones. And I have been using what originally was developed by Gail Bernhardt long time ago in the 80s. And then Joe Friel worked with her. And so if you are familiar with the Training Peaks Training Bible, this is his, and I use the Training Peaks online software now. This is one of the kinds of training zones. There are other zones, but this is what I use, so I'm going to talk to you about it. So we have zones, and we have what those zones feel like. RPE is short for rate of perceived effort. And usually you assign a number to that. And there's a whole scale. It was developed by a man named Borg. And it's a great system for judging your perception of effort, okay? But I'm only using, for this purposes here, I'm using these descriptions. So I'm describing the perceived effort for zone 1 is easy, okay? The perceived effort for zone 2, which is what I call aerobic, is a steady effort where you have to pay attention so that you don't end up going too easy or too hard, okay? So you do have to pay attention, but you should still be able to talk, and it's comfortable, okay? But that may take you to learn how to do that so that you don't end up being too easy or too hard, okay? Most people don't go easy enough on their easy day or hard enough on their hard days. Across the board, okay? And it's because we're out there training and we're like, oh, well, I want to get something out of this workout, so I got to make it a little hard, but I know I can't make it like super hard every single time I'm out there. So you end up in the middle with nothing instead of doing a better job of varying between easy, aerobic, or harder. Okay, so that's the third. We're getting third level, zone 3, we're getting harder. You have to concentrate even more to stay here. You can still talk, but it's getting harder to it. But often people spend too much time here. I just said that. It's hard, but not too hard. This is definitely the place that most people train if they don't monitor their heart rate zones or their power zones or their, if they don't monitor what they're doing, generally we kind of fall into this, okay? Zone 4 is what I would call sub-threshold. So I'm calling your threshold the top of zone 4 and the bottom of 5A, so right here, okay? All right. And that is when you're working hard, you can't talk well, you can be here for a while, but it is not easy at all. There's nothing easy about this zone 4 that we would call it, okay? Once you get into 5A, it's threshold and above, you're breathing hard to very hard, 5B is goodly above threshold of breathing really super hard. And finally, 5C is something that you're doing for like 20 seconds or less, a sprint. Very, very hard. Okay, now, this might be new to you. I don't know, okay? I've actually applied race distances to zones, all right? So if you're doing, let's go all the way down to, say you're entering the sport and you're going to try a sprint triathlon. Okay, I'm telling you here that a sprint triathlon is go. Racing hard, breathing hard, working hard the whole time. Now, if you're brand new to the sport, that might not be how you pace your race, okay? If it's your first triathlon, you may, and you're not a strong swimmer, you may swim very easy the whole time just to get out calm and then work on the bike or the run, okay? So I'm also bringing that up because each race you could pace slightly differently in order to learn something or have success. Generally, I do not think it is a good idea for people who are brand new to the sport to race the swim. You can't really gain that much time, and all you can do is potentially ruin the rest of your race, okay? Now, for me, I'm a swimmer. Well, I've made myself into a swimmer. I didn't come from a swimming background, and I have been really focusing on Olympic distance and sprint distance. So an Olympic distance, 1,500-meter swim, okay, that's a decent distance, right? But I train the swim, I race the swim, okay? That's a thing for me. So I am going like crazy on the swim, but I've done it a lot. I've practiced it a lot, okay? So, you've got to balance that out. All right, but what I'm going to tell you is I'm racing a sprint triathlon at a heart rate or perceived effort of very, very, very hard, okay? So now let's jump all the way back to here, the beginning. Zone 2, Ironman or marathon. Some people may wonder about this, so this is why I like to deal with this. Is for an amateur triathlete who trains a lot, and does, and of course I'm not giving you an age right now, so I'm being very general, okay? And does an Ironman in 15 hours, okay? So you're out there working for 15 hours, right? They should be in zone 2 that whole day. The only time they should be above zone 2 is the last 2 miles, if they can even bring themselves to do that at that point, okay? Because when you get so exceedingly tired, generally your body won't allow you to run a big sprint. Maybe down the chute, okay? But maybe not for the last 2 miles, okay? Now here's the thing that a lot of people cannot even believe when I tell them this, but so the professionals, 8-9 hours for an Ironman. You think they're racing at these levels here? No. Zone 2, aerobic. They've just done so much training that they go faster than we do at those levels, okay? But why can they still have to stay in that aerobic zone? Because if you belt out this kind of effort, they won't last. The physiology in your body doesn't allow you to do that. You only have so much time before you would have to rest that you can be at a high level of activity. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, so race pacing. We want to apply the right level of effort for our race and for our training. So this is the same thing for training, right? If you're going to do an Ironman, you need to do a lot of training in zone 2. Now you also need to train in the other zones. So every person I train, whether they're doing sprint distance, Olympic distance, half Ironman, full Ironman, you have to do a variety. The body thrives on change, okay? And you're developing all those systems, okay? So you don't do everything slow, you don't do everything fast. You mix it up, okay? I do want to touch on half Ironman and half marathon, which is at that zone 3, which I sounded a little critical of, okay? I was kind of saying people spend too much time here, okay? But the reality is, even when you're training to race half marathon and half Ironman, you're going to train at those other levels, but you're going to do probably the most training here than anyone would in that zone 3 area. But I tell you what, I went to a triathlon camp with two very professional triathletes, and I asked them about this, and they race half Ironmans, how fast are they doing them now? Like these gals were doing them like 4:20 or something. The two gals and a guy. Zone 3, they're not racing half Ironmans, zone 4, zone 5, so, you feel like racing means you have to go really hard, okay? But it depends on what your race is, what your goal level for the race is, what your experience level is, all those things. Does anybody have any questions about that table? Maybe a little, yes, please.
Last 2 Saturdays, I did like a long ride on the little ring of my bike, just to do some zone 2 work.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my Garmin afterwards. It looks like I spent most of my time in zone 3, like 50% of it in zone 3, 40% in zone 2.
Mm-hmm.
So for that a ride like that, one, do I need to slow down? I went like 15 miles an hour on average.
Yeah.
Do I need to slow down? And if so, what is a good metric to use while I'm riding,
To help you.
like speed, heart rate, to get myself down to zone 2?
Good. Okay, so first of all, speed is really dangerous to pace on the bike, especially lately. Anybody knows how windy it's been? Okay, so when you're riding into the wind and you, oh my gosh, I'm only going 10 miles an hour, but you're really like doing a 5B effort, you got a problem, right? Okay, so basically on the bike, the best things to pace on are heart rate and power. And for sure, power is the best, but I know a lot of people, more and more people are getting it, but you don't need it right away. And I did my first half Ironman with training and racing with heart rate. Actually had just gotten my power meter, but I wasn't I was using heart rate on purpose because I wanted to see. And I still use heart rate some too. So those are two things. Honing your perceived effort, okay? Because right now your perceived effort is not that great, right? I mean, because you think easy is zone 3, but that's not true, okay? So it's good to hone that. Who all has had some of their devices not work in a race, like a power meter, like a heart rate monitor, right? So it's really good for us to also develop our perception of effort, all right? I mean, sadly, I had a guy whose watch got knocked off in the swim for the Ironman. And, we had power zones locked in, heart rate zones locked in, and it is hard to pace an Ironman only on perceived effort. He still had a good day, but, the bike didn't quite go as well as we want. But the reality is it's good to, be ready for those kind of things. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say something about zones?
Yeah.
You also need to have an accurate idea of what, you need to do a proper test so you have accurate zones, so you know where you're
Yes.
supposed to be and regularly testing them.
And so that has changed in the years I've been coaching a lot because the watches have gotten much smarter. So the watches really try to help you, get your zones right because the watches are collecting all the data and they're trying to guess. But of course, you have to give them the right parameters. And I still have people that I work with do various workouts and, we call them like kind of tests, workout tests that set those zones. And you're right, you should do it every 2 to 3 months, really. If you know, if you're going to train to your zones, you should be updating them regularly. All right, did that answer your question, or? Yeah, okay, yes,
Quick question. So,
yes.
like, obviously, for someone that kind of runs a typical pace, those race distances are really good kind of markers to figure out what RPE should be in. Like, for myself, like, honestly, the time I have for a half marathon is about the same as some of my friends have for their marathons and whatnot. And so, like,
Good
I'm
point.
wondering if you have, like, rather than like a race distance, if you have, like, if you're doing a 2-hour effort versus a 5-hour effort versus a 1 hour, like, how would kind of those times line up with those zones or those RPEs, if that makes sense?
That's a really excellent question. You are absolutely right, because this is time-oriented. Because one of the sort of pieces of this that I haven't quite talked about, but I'll mention now because I think it fits, is years ago, I went to a training where they talked about how feasibly you can spend 90 minutes above your threshold in a race effectively. And the reason why I say effectively is plenty of people have done 2-3 hours where the heart rate's been high, you know, but they weren't having the best race they possibly could. Basically, they went too hard too soon, something like that happened, okay? So even in an Olympic distance, the pros who go 2 hours, they have to play with that window. They cannot be belting it out the whole time. There's some point where they're below threshold, okay? And I want to talk for just a second about what that threshold is, because I thought, I saw someone do this in a presentation. I thought it was made so much sense. Okay, so threshold is when you're exercising and you're going along and it's getting harder. So I'm in zone 4 doing whatever I'm doing, and it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. There's a point where you suddenly start breathing that much harder, okay? And you start to feel the stiffening, you know, the onset of the rigor mortis feeling, okay? But you can manage that because you can stay right at that point where you're breathing harder, where you feel some of that, but it doesn't get too bad, okay? So that is your exact threshold, okay? And he likened it to a funnel. So as you're exercising and your body's producing lactic acid, which we're pouring into the funnel, your muscles are eating it for fuel. People used to think it was a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. What's a bad thing is when the body starts producing so much lactic acid that the funnel starts filling up, meaning your body can't process that lactic acid fast enough. So the funnel filling up is you starting to feel these bad feelings in your body, okay, as well as you starting to breathe extra hard, okay? So that's why this magic place, which it really is a magic place, of the top of zone 4, bottom of 5A, is such a great training place because you get a lot of benefit, but it actually doesn't hurt terribly like it does if you go a little further, right? So you can get good, hard workouts in that will make you better, that you can recover from and feel better from the next day, or you can go really, really hard, and I'll be honest with you, I like that feeling sometimes, okay? Sometimes I know I'm going harder than I need to in a workout, okay? So usually it's because I've kind of set it up as a race or something like that, okay? So, but you don't have to go that hard to get the benefits that you can get from racing. So going back to your question about if it takes you 2 hours, 2.5 hours, let's say, to do a half marathon, you're right. That's probably going to be difficult to do at zone 3 the whole time. You're going to want to be at zone 2 for part of it and then zone 3 the rest of it. The people who are doing zone 3 are probably going to be more like under 145, I would say. Yeah, yeah.
VO2 max test, a good way to establish heart rate zones?
So, yeah, so that's interesting. So when I first started coaching, we did field tests, but they're hard. Ask Elena. Nobody wants to do them. And so then I actually got VO2 testing equipment, which I still have, and I use it. And it's particularly great for people when they're newer to the sport, so you're not necessarily fit enough to do all the hard tests and things on a regular basis, okay? But it's useful to everybody because people like to know, like, well, what, it also, in addition to setting training zones, it also tells me something about that person. But I'll also tell you something else. In my 17 years of coaching, I've only had one person, who was actually limited by the VO2 max, okay? His was really pretty low. He's not an athlete guy. Now, he has done some great things. Like, he ended up doing some ultra running events, which he and I would never have believed he would have done this, okay? But my point being, yes, I can find out what your VO2 max is, Mike, and it may make you smile or not, okay? And I can use it to set, and the other data I collect, I can set your training zone. So it's useful, okay? But the reality is you can also just do these field tests on your own and set your training zones, and it's just as good, okay?
So I've got Training Peaks. I think these first few workouts are, of course, the swim test was the first one. And of course, they do swim, bike, and a run test. I have trouble finding my zones because I'm older and I run a very, very high heart rate. And typically, if I was doing a sprint try, I will easily hit over 200 beats per minute.
Okay.
Which is fast. But
Yes.
I have a normal resting heart rate.
Yep.
And so those zones are very, I don't know,
It actually is why you have to do the tests and stuff, because all of us have seen at health clubs like a poster or something that kind of shows you red, yellow zone. It's not exactly these zones that I have, but you've seen something like that, okay? And you may look at that and be like, that is impossible. That doesn't fit me at all. That would be you, I would say. Because for your age, for a heart rate to go over 200, that is uncommon, very uncommon, okay? Because as we get older, like my zones are much lower than they used to be. It's amazing. Still working my tail off running or biking, but heart rate much lower than it used to be when I was doing that. So they have changed over time. But if you're...
what's the best way then to
Do-
establish those heart rate zones?
Well, the best way for setting heart rate zones is to do a 30-minute effort, which is a 30-minute race on the bike and on the run. Swimming, I still pretty much believe in pacing workouts and stuff by, timing different events, time 1,000, time 100, time of 50, and, you set up your intervals like that. I used to use heart rate in swimming. It can be done. If someone is interested, I know how to do that. But generally, people swim more in the pool kind of based on pace, I would say. But you run 30 minutes as hard as you can, which means you're trying to cover as much distance as you can, which we're getting back to pacing, okay? I did this with the athletes I coach. We do it at the track, which may sound boring to you if you don't like running around the track. But if you have a bunch of people that are different, as a matter of fact, we've done this with the Tri Club. Anybody ever come to that? We did it a few times. So the nice thing is everybody's running around the track in misery with you, okay? Because we're all trying to run 30 minutes and go as far as we can in 30 minutes. And then we collected the heart rate data, and I brought my PC, and people came over, and then they ended up with running heart rate zones. So same thing on the bike. That's how we do it.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, we can.
So you shouldn't do the running on a treadmill, you should do it on a track, you think that's better?
You could do it running on a treadmill, because you could keep going higher and lower. I mean, the idea is that you're trying to go as far as you can, so you're trying to go as fast as you can, but of course you wouldn't want to sprint the first mile like my son did in his 5K and then find himself going half that speed on the next mile, You could do it on the treadmill. I don't know. I guess I just always do it at the track. But all right. So we've talked a little bit about training zones and how they work with pacing. We're going to keep building on that. Yeah, Dave.
You know what MAF is, right?
Maffetone. There is a difference because I coached a guy for a while who'd been doing Phil Maffetone stuff forever, and I remember it took us some time to kind of blend those zones. I think his definition of aerobic, which is zone 2, was easier than what I use. So, yeah, that's an interesting topic, right? Is like, see, I have a kind of a rule with the high school kids too, and with people I coach. It's my rule. Sometimes people follow it or not. So I really don't like to call anything easy, because really, if it's easy, we might be wasting our time. Okay, I will call a warm up and a cool down easy. That's cool, but I don't assign any easy runs. They're aerobic runs that include a warm up and a cool down. Okay, but that's because like even running aerobic, it takes some amount of effort to stay at that pace. I'm not just shuffling along slowly. I don't personally think you get any benefit out of that. From the training and racing I've done, that has not been effective. It's sort of like, and I'm pushing that envelope. So like, let's say my heart rate zone in running for zone 2 is, I used to get up to 150. Now I'm probably like 144 or something. So let's say my zone is like 138 to 144. I'm trying to run 143. Like I'm trying to run at the top of my zone 2 as much as I can without moving over into that next level. So, all right, let's go on. I'll talk your ear off if I'm not careful here. Oh, my example. Okay, stop right there for a second. Okay, so I have a very good friend who is an amazing runner. And I can't tell you too much about him because I'll give him away. But he ran in Penn relays as a high school student. I did not. I went to the University of Pennsylvania. I observed at Penn relays, even as I ran for Penn. I didn't make it to the Penn relays. He got to run in the Penn relays in high school. He's that good. You don't run in the Penn relays in high school unless you're really good. Okay, he's a really good runner. And he was off running for a lot, but he's back to running, and he actually ran, and he is 50. So this is age group 55, 59. So for the youngsters in here, I'm sorry, but this I thought was a good example. He ran a sub 132 half marathon very recently and qualified for the New York Marathon. Okay, so that's pretty good. He's under 7-minute pace for a half marathon at the age of 56, okay? The other fella is somebody I used to coach for a long time, and he was not a good runner at all, and we worked on his running technique a lot. Now, I haven't coached him in a while, but he works very hard. He's very slim now. I see him at races. He's a great guy. I'm sure half of you know him, but I'm not going to tell you who he is, but because they don't even know that I'm talking about them. But he should never beat my friend. Sorry. I mean, my one friend has naturally great running technique. Not true of this guy, okay? Guess why he beat him? Because he paced his race correctly, all right? So I actually want to show this example to my friend, except I think that he would be upset with me if I did, so I haven't. Okay, so here's the difference. What I love is the Go gives you at 5.75 miles, okay? Okay, go. I'm sorry, give me one more line. I wasn't clear on that. Okay, so here's the two people, all right? The 6th place person, this is 6th at the end, okay? He was 7th at 5.75 miles. Yep, pretty close to where he was, right? Averaging 7:09 pace, okay? The better runner was 7th and in 3rd place in his age group at 5.75 miles, okay? averaging a pace of 6:48. He just ran, like a month ago, the fastest half marathon he's ever done at like 6:58 pace or something. In a month, you don't suddenly go 10 seconds a mile faster for a half marathon, okay? So I felt so good at the beginning. It was great. Now, I'll tell you, the other cool thing is I did talk to this fella, the one who went out slower, who told me he'd researched the course and saw that mile 2 on the Go St. Louis Half Marathon was the hilliest and most difficult mile. And so he was going to be careful until after that. I was like, you go. You are so smart, you know? And so at any rate, here's where we are. Okay, next, give me the next lines. Let's 1, 2. Okay, I'll go back one. Okay. All right, so now we are at 11 miles. All right? So this dude slowed down a little. So this is still not perfect. Okay, I'm sorry. You still shouldn't be doing that. All right, so he shouldn't have done that. Okay. But look at the difference here. 6:48 to a 7:12 pace. That's a big slowdown. And he's lost how many spots? 3 spots. And the other guy is now in 6th place. He's moved up. He's moved up 1 spot. All right, go down again. I think that's the last one. I think it just broke it in. Okay, at the end of the race, applause, applause. In the last 2 miles, he went faster and drove his average pace back up. So now we really compare this to this, his average pace here. That's much better. He only slowed down 10 seconds. I still don't even love that, but okay. But this, he dropped 4 more places, okay, and ends up with a 7:21 average pace. All right. And that is not very fun, okay? It is so much more fun to be catching people at the end of a race than to be having people pass you. And I don't care how fast or slow you are. Does anybody disagree with me on that? Anybody? Okay? So there is nothing wrong with being a little conservative and then coming from behind and passing people. Okay? I mean, that's kind of a fun way to go. The winner of the Go St. Louis Half Marathon, average pace at 5.75 was 5:08, 5:09, 5:07. Okay? Yes, that's incredibly fast. Okay? But I'm going to tell you something. That 5:08 for the first 5.7 miles, that felt easy to him. He could have gone a lot faster. But he knew that the best racers do even pacing or negative splitting. I can't believe I've gotten this far into this presentation, not said negative splitting yet, okay? Because honestly, that's a big thing. You've all heard that before, okay? So he did negative split, okay? Not from here to here, but from here to here, okay? These guys didn't quite accomplish that. It's fun to try things like that, okay? One of the techniques that I use, which I think is simple, and I would recommend you try it, is in a race. I don't care if it's whatever distance it is, okay? The second half of the bike or the second half of the run has to be the same or faster than the first half. And I actually hit the lap button on my watch when I get halfway through the run or halfway through the bike so that I can very easily compare those 2 segments. And what that does for me is when I come off the bike, because I always come off the bike, I like running off the bike. I feel good. So I'm flying, I'm going, you better keep this up. You just remember, second half has to be faster. Second half has to be faster, so you better cool it. And so I'm like talking to myself and like trying to figure out, okay, what can I hold so that when I make that turnaround, I can go the same or faster on the second half. And do I always get it right? No. But it's really been a helpful thing to me because I force myself to look at that, think about that. All right, there we go. So there's negative pacing, and there's good pacing and not so good. All right, go on. Negative split, halfway. That's what I just talked about. It's better pacing when If you use better pacing, then you're passing people at the end. We talked about that. That's way more fun. Triathlon, when you're done with the swim, does anyone agree with this, that you should not be very tired at the end of the swim? Anybody have a question about that? Yep. Okay. That doesn't mean that you don't, like, I get out of the swim, I'm out of breath, okay? But when I get on the bike and I'm going on the bike, I shouldn't feel spent at all, okay? So you have to train enough so that you can pace the swim to do that. For me, I can swim hard and do that. But for many people, it might be just swimming very comfortably so that you get out and you're not too tired, and now you got the whole, and that doesn't matter if it's a sprint or an Ironman, okay? Can you run after the bike? This is something to really think about, okay? The Uber bikers, the really fast bikers, just cannot resist themselves sometimes to go so hard on the bike.
You have to when you run slow.
But it may be the cause of you running slow. At any rate, it's a happy medium. All right? So sometimes, again, I like this too. For each race, you have to decide your goal for that race, okay? I've had people I coached where I'm like, okay, this triathlon, our goal is you're going to bike like you never have to run afterwards. You're going to bike like the race ends after the bike, and then we're going to see if you can run, right? It is really how I helped. I have one guy who's a fabulous swimmer and runner, and he's a good biker, but he needs to be better. And that has been a really helpful tactic for him because he can run still. So I was like, oh, excellent. You aren't biking hard enough. And he's like, oh, you know. But it was a realization for him also, okay? But somebody else, that might be the worst thing to try, okay? So that is not the race plan for everyone, but it's how are you going to pace it. You should go into every race with a plan. How are you going to do it? How are you going to pace it? Should you be run walking? I think this is a fabulous tool that people do not use as much as they should. Some people can accomplish a half marathon much faster if they allow themselves run, walk, because their running might be much better when they're running and not turn into this, I can't walk, you know, slow slog, okay? And you just have to manage your walking. Not very fast, and not very long, and it has to be kind of a decent walking pace, okay? But I do have a client who did that Go St. Louis half marathon years ago, and she was in good running shape, and they ran it in like 1:46, just pretty good, right? And the entire time she had a woman who was running, walking. She's like, ah! I was like, no, you know, like that's pretty good that she did it that way, you know. We talked about 90 minutes being above threshold effectively. I use that to kind of figure out in an Olympic distance race. I might take the bike and say, okay, for first half an hour of the bike, you're in zone 4. Then the last 45 minutes, you can be in 5A. Then maybe the 10K, the first half is this, the second half is that, you know, but you just kind of use that to help you manage. It's probably the most useful for sprint, Olympic, and half. Because again, in Ironman, you can't do that. That's just crazy. Okay, next. I think I'm almost done. Training. So, okay, yeah, good. All right, so we talked about the paces for racing and training, right? So you have to follow a training plan of some kind, you know, whether it's a book, whether it's online, whether you get a coach. Because otherwise you'll just go out every day and do what you would like to do, and you'll probably spend all your time in zone 3, and you won't go easy enough on your easy days and hard enough on your hard days, and you won't mix it up. Generally, that's what most people do. So when you train at correct paces and use all those correct paces, then you can take that into racing quite nicely because you have experience with it. Okay, so go on. So most people, I said that already, most people go too hard on their easy days and too easy on their hard days. Yep. All right, so racing, again, you should have a plan. I mentioned that. Might be very different. Your plan might look so different than somebody else's based on where you're coming from. You should follow the plan. Have the plan, follow the plan. We don't throw the plan out the window. You spent time making the plan for a reason. So let's do it. So you can figure it out, or you can do that with a coach. But like every time you arrive, you're going to a 5K. What are you going to do? You're just really just going to show up and run and not even like think for 1 second before you get there about like what you want to achieve? I want to do my best. What does that mean? How long is it going to take you? Are you going to run? Are you going to walk? Are you going to pace it with a pace? Are you going to pace it with heart rate? Are you just going to try and run with your buddy that you know runs the time? These are all fine ideas, but make a plan, okay? All right, go on. So we talked about why is race pacing important and how it links to your goal. How do you pace so you can race faster? Negative or even split. Just try it, okay? Negative split means you get faster throughout, or even. Honestly, this is something I practice in workouts a lot, particularly in swims. Like when I do intervals of, say I'm doing 300s or something in the pool, all right? I'm gonna make sure each one gets faster, okay? And even if I'm not doing them all really fast, or the same, so it has to be the same or faster, okay? So I'm trying to maintain, maybe it's an aerobic day, or I'm trying to go harder, faster, but I do that a lot. Okay. Half marathon example, we did, talked about our pacing and training levels and zones. Training so that you can pace your race as well. And we talked about different options, how it worked, what can get you into trouble. Anybody want to add anything that I might have missed that's helped you how to pace your race? Yeah, Erwin, please.
So how much do you account for the race's terrain or the weather?
Well, I would say that it is really great to know the course well. And as I said about that half marathon, like I was so impressed that he had looked at that and thought, okay, I know my second mile is going to be slow, and I'm not going to push to maintain my average pace through that mile because I'll expend too much effort. So I would say that, and one of the hard parts about that is when a course is harder on the second half, right? So then you feel like you're going to go slower the second half because the terrain is like this. So, and I'm telling you, you shouldn't do that, right? You should negative split and even pace things. So then it's tempting to go harder on the first half if it's flatter, right? But that's where I would then just get into managing your effort with heart rate or whatever. So yes, you might end up being speedier on the easy part, but if you looked at your effort, you were still applying the same effort across the board. Is that, I'm losing anybody on that? That makes sense, right? So for sure, even like my little second half faster than first half thing that I test myself on, you're right. If I don't take into consideration the fact that, you know, if it's an out and back, it's easy, right? But if it's all uphill this way and then all downhill that way, or the other way around, you know, I definitely have to kind of take that into consideration when I'm thinking about it. But it is interesting because if you look at that, like that guy's half marathon time, whether he did that, you know, or whether he was just achieving over the whole thing. Because the course for the marathon people, all the hills were the first half, and then the second half was just flat, right? I guess the half marathon was all the hills in the front. I don't know if I answered your question. But yes, you have to take it into account, but you should still try to pace. I guess that's my answer. Yep.
So with the pacing thing, so I did lead bike for the Go St. Louis Marathon. And the guy who won it was also the lead for the first 5 3/4 of a mile, roughly. Then this other guy came out and he got ahead of him for the next 14 miles. It wasn't until a turnaround for the last 6 miles is where he overtook him. And it's because the guy went way too hard in those 14 miles to try to break away from the 4 people chasing him down. He only got about 30 seconds ahead of him. And of course, we got to the turnaround, the guy just ate away at him, but he was maintaining pretty much the same pace that he did that he started with. And we're at about mile 25, and I'm chit-chatting this guy. He's running 5:36, and he's chit-chatting. At the end of a marathon, yeah.
Because, which is true, he's in his aerobic zone. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's almost not believable, but it's true.
And that was his that was his half marathon pace the year before.
Oh, wow.
And he hadn't ran a full marathon in 4 years, and he PR'd it by damn near 20 minutes.
This was the Illini guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing him. Yeah,
He was
cool.
fast.
Yep.
Would being in the wrong pacing zone contribute to cramping during races and training, or is that more just on nutrition?
Excellent question. The cause of cramping is either pacing, dehydration, electrolyte depletion, or glycogen depletion. However, in that order, notice I said pacing first. I do think it's likely the culprit in a lot of cases, but for sure dehydration and for sure salt are issues. For some people, when they get the pacing right, they're still like, I've had some people who have to take a lot of salt to get rid of the cramping. But the most unlikely is that you didn't have enough carbohydrates. That's like not usually it, right? It's usually pacing, dehydration, or, what was that?
Lack of training before you race.
Lack of training. Well, see, then your pacing has to match your level of training.
If you're pacing while training is going from the couch to the gym.
Maybe so. Funny. Yes, yes.
So I like that you're
Mike.
using the running example, and that's nice and simple for me. You have one sport, like even pace means this many minutes per mile. At the beginning and at the end, and maybe I do negative splits and all that. But what I don't get with triathlon is how I'm supposed to pace when I have 3 different sports, and each of us has different strengths in those sports. So does pacing then mean, like, let's say my plan were to be, just in a certain zone in the whole race. Does by pacing mean that then, like, my heart rate, you wouldn't see on my heart rate plot that I did 3 different sports? Would that look kind of,
No,
it doesn't look like that.
right, no. Heart rate zones are very different from sport to sport. Yep, from swim to bike to run. So, so you have to create zones for each and train and race to those particular zones for each.
Pacing though would still be, it might be
Yep.
different heart rate for the different sports,
Yep.
but it would be the same zone for those
Yep.
sports. So I know what zone 3 looks like on a bike, and then
Yep.
what zone 3 looks like on a run. I try to.
Yep. And then when you're more comfortable in a sport, you might be able to push harder in that sport. And then so when I first started doing triathlon, I came from a running background and I was pretty new to swimming and biking. And so I was always best in the run, always, But I also like Olympic distance because I like the fact that it challenges us to be good in all 3. Because, it's still not balanced. You still bike the most, but you have a longer swim to bike to. So it kind of forces you to really try to be as good as you can be in each one. But I definitely had to manage how my effort in the way I raced in the swim part and in the bike part and in the run part differently. And honestly, I mean, this is getting off track but an example of that in the swimming in particular, since we can draft legally in swimming in a triathlon, I've had some of my best swim times where it was easy because I found a good ride. You don't always get lucky, but when I got on somebody's feet and you swim for a while, and then when you try to pass them and it's super hard and all you do is get up beside them and you're working your tail off, then what I recommend is you go right back here and you just relax and you say, well, my time's going to be pretty good and I'm going to feel good when I get out. That's it. Because you'd be a fool to keep expending effort that is not actually going to get you. Right. But for me, that's hard because, like, I like the feeling of swimming hard. And, like, you feel like that's how you're going to have your best time. So it's kind of weird to go, like, okay, I'll stay here. But on the other hand, you kind of get smarter and know that's what you should do. All right, this is me. That's my company. That's my phone number, my email. I do a lot of swimming lessons. I do overall coaching. I have clients that I do their plan and lessons with them, but I do just swimming lessons, just biking lesson. Believe it or not, if you've never had a biking lesson, you can learn something, which Terry and I did just, a year ago. And she's like, why are we doing this? I've been riding my bike forever, which was great. It's true. And then afterwards, she's like, oh, I learned a lot. So that was really nice to hear. So anyway, swimming, biking, run, all those things. So if I can help you out at any point, I would be glad to. Thank you for listening to me.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it very much. And we're going to do some attendance prizes now. Everybody has a ticket, yes? We've got a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff. So we're going to do some selecting here. And please come up to the table.
I'm up for you to take it.
Oh, well, that means I shouldn't be picking the first one, but Jennifer will do that for us. You can pick anything but your own.
That would be crazy if I picked my own.
But we'll see. What number is that there? It is. The last three digits on here are 621. Is there a 621 out there? Oh. Yeah.
You got first?
I think I know what you want. Go ahead and pick one and go ahead and pick one out and I think you like your scratch there, I guess. All right. 625. Oh, I knew it was Gina. All right.
You wanna pick one?
Yes, please.
All right, there you go.
All right. Yeah, that's your stuff, huh? He likes his scratch, which is a good thing, I guess. 630. Woo! Woo! Okay, we'll make you ineligible. You do that again, I tell you. Hey, 629. Well, these numbers just blend together, you know.
Somebody like Trev read them.
628.
628. Who came in? I knew it. Carol did. All right.
I was going to say, you can have her back.
Yeah. This is I haven't ever tried this. Have you ever tried this one?
All right. Who is 637? Please pick one out for us.
And read the number to him so he doesn't have to. 627.
You're eligible?
Somebody gave it to me.
All right. Pick one out of there for me. By the way, Terry, did you have something over on,
639.
did you have something over on that table, by the way?
639.
Just want to make sure. All right. How you doing, Mike? I'll just take your ticket and please pick one out for somebody else. And by the way, everybody's in here, right?
634.
It's 6:34 here today. Irwin's here in the house. All right.
$629.
629. Wait a minute. Was that 629?
$619.
619, one of our early birds. Okay. Well, Jennifer, you're going to start running at night more, so we're running at night, okay? And I'll pick one here for you, because who's our 633 person? All right, all right, all right.
Plenty of food back here, so make sure you get your little plate, or if anybody wants dessert or anything else, come on back.
638. All right.
My number's in here with the one.
With the
The one that he, you know what I'm saying? That you looked at, because my number looks like 629.
and Kelly, would you pick one out of there for us?
I'm just curious.
Who is 631? Jeff Gear, 631.
There's mine. Which I think you thought was 629.
Now those I wouldn't mix up. Now the 623 and 629 will.
No, that's what it is.
Pick us one there,
That's what I'm saying.
Jeff.
This is 623 and this is 629.
Ooh, well this is 624. Another early bird. So Terry, the early bird. By the way, check these out. These are, they're actually pencil holders. I picked these up today. These are just donated by me. These are just the insides we got from Big River. But one of them has lubrication, and actually that's like chain lubrication and body lubrication, right? And the other ones all have a noon and something else in them. Pretty cool. All right. So Terry picked one out of there. Pick Jennifer's, otherwise she's going to be really mad at me. Okay, so we have 626. Dave DeJean. And Devlin, can we advance slides? Because I'm going to do something while we're finishing these off. Dave, pick one out of here. We do need to be out by 8:45. Thus, I will advance forward and talk and multitask, because at first I need a 622. 622. See. That'd be me. I'll trade tickets with our first person who came up with new member. Come up here. So here, I'll trade tickets with you. Okay, so you go ahead and pick one out of here. So this is yours now.
Okay. All right. 632.
632. Good, we got them. So I wanted to introduce, go ahead and pick one out real quick. I want to introduce all of our sponsors, which will help conclude our evening. 636. No. Darn. Excellent, excellent, excellent. We still have things left. It's so awesome. We did good today. All right. All right, he's going to pick one out here. And this one is 635. 635. 635. That might have been his ticket.
Oh, yeah.
I hope so. 618. Good. All right. So, first of all, 640. So, Big River. Many of it. No, none of those. But first of all, 623. I knew it. All right. So we are good. Yes, indeed. And I want to introduce our sponsors as we conclude this evening. So first of all, big thanks to Big Shark. Big Shark, our premier sponsor. Half of these items roughly came from Big Shark. Big River Running, about half of these came from Big River Running. Then we have our coaching. Our coaches. Our coach sponsors include, of course, TriSmart, Jennifer Meyer, Evolve, Samantha Murphy, and Iron Brick, Paul Schoen. Then we have Racemaker Productions and MSC Racing as some of our race management sponsors. Dogfish for apparel. We have Colby Co., who provides computer services to us. Athletico, who's here today. And I didn't want to forget to mention Elena's here. Anything that you want to talk about, physical therapy-wise, Elena's here. I know you'll be glad to talk to anybody after the meeting. Appreciate you being here. We have Hogan Transportation, another one of our big sponsors, and Memorable Races. So if you have a big race that you want to have your finisher medal, your race number, a picture, anything incorporated into plaques and memorable wall hangings, Memorable Races, great website. Go out and take a look at them. That's Tim Fowler. And I think I mentioned everybody here. So thanks to all of you for coming tonight. Our next membership meeting will be in May, and we'll get all the details to that out in the next week or two probably. So thank you so much for coming tonight.